Welcome back to another Film Geek movie review. In just a bit, I'm going to be hitting the road to check out the new horror film Arcadian, starring Nicolas Cage. Now, what is the plot of this movie? Well, in a dystopian future, some kind of pollution pretty well wipes out humanity, and then maybe in its place leaves these mutated creatures that attack people in the middle of the night. So a father played by Nicolas Cage and his two sons decide to stop being on the defense and get on the offense and take the fight to these monsters. Guys, this looks like a good old-fashioned brawler creature feature. This is the kind of movie where the people have been terrorized by the creatures for quite some time. They've had their fill, and they decided that they are going to take it to the monsters. And I do really enjoy this kind of a movie. These are normally fast-paced, lots of action, good scares, stuff like that. Lots of fun atmosphere. So you know what, guys? It is enough of me sitting here jibber-jabbing. It is time for me to get out the door because I need to go check out Arcadian. Welcome back. Just getting home, and you know what, guys? This movie wasn't half bad. It's definitely not the worst movie I've seen all year, but it's not necessarily the best movie I've seen so far this year. Let's get this started, shall we? We're going to get things started with the negatives and then move into the positives to end the video on the ever so important high note. Now, one of the things about this film is I am going to compare it a bit to the movie A Quiet Place, because it does something very similar, and that is you kind of learn how the world works as the movie progresses. The film is very ambiguous about what is going on. How did the world end? Where did the monsters come from? You only get very basic information. Now, in The Quiet Place, it works because there's a lot of very in-depth characterization. There's a really strong story with a very strong emotional core attached to it. There's a lot of good stuff happening. This film, however, does not have the deep characters, the well-developed world, or the really strong story to help back it up. Not that any of this is terrible by any means. The film is not bad, it just doesn't hit those heights. And when you don't have the interesting characters of the story to kind of keep you from thinking about where these monsters come from, it leads you to kind of wander and wonder where these monsters are coming from and why this is happening. So it becomes less ambiguous and more annoying on why you don't really know what's going on in this film. There's one other thing too that really bothered me, and that is the use of shaky cam. And I mean a lot. This film relies on shaky cam way too freaking much. To the point where I would guess that 75 to 80% of this movie is handheld cam. There are moments where you're just like, why are we doing shaky cam? It's just like two characters talking and you can just see the camera bopping up and down ever so slowly, always moving. And it starts to get very distracting, especially in scenes that really don't need to have that kind of element thrown into it. You don't need the action, the suspense, and all of that comes with something like shaky cam. It just made it feel very disorientating. And there was moments of the film where the shaky cam got so bad that I really had to look away from the screen because it was really starting to bother me. Now that being said, in my opinion, those are two of the worst things that I could say about this film, so let's move into the positives. Number one thing I want to say is that every actor in this film, despite the fact that the script wasn't super deep, all of the actors do an excellent job. At no time did I feel that the acting or anything of that sort was lacked up. It really flowed well. The pacing on this film is also excellent. The movie clocks in at just over an hour and a half, and it really flows through it. It doesn't take a lot of time building, like I said, world building or explaining the monsters. You just kind of have to pick up on all that as the film progresses. And it works. It works for a movie like this because this movie really isn't trying to be all that. It's not really trying to be much bigger than it really is. It's just trying to be a fun monster movie at its core, and it does deliver in that. So I do like that element. The action of the film is solid. The CGI is heavy. There is a lot of CGI in this film, but it doesn't look terrible. And honestly, they probably used a lot of that shaky cam to kind of just kind of distract you a little bit, so you didn't notice if the CGI was a little spotty because of the low budget, but it doesn't look terrible at all. The creature design isn't bad. This is one of those creature designs I think is going to really divide fans, because Charming Amy didn't really care for him too much. I thought the creatures walked a very thin line of goofy and frightening, and I did enjoy the look of the creatures. I just didn't feel like we got to spend enough time with the creatures to honestly make them all that frightening. The film relies very heavily on jump scares, but there are some very well-crafted atmospheric moments that I really enjoyed. All in all, guys, at the end of the day, this is a film that is going to be on Shudder at some point here soon. It's got a limited release in theaters right now, and then it's going to be on our TVs. And to be perfectly honest, a film like this, I think, works better as a streaming service movie, probably because the shaky cam is not going to look nearly as bad on a TV than it did on the big screen. So all in all, I would have to say, if you're a fan of creature features, this movie is satisfying enough that if it's in your area, go check it out in theaters. But if you're someone who just kind of likes the genre, you like horror, this sounds like a good time, maybe wait for it to show up on Shudder here soon. Well, alright guys, that's all I have for you today. Thanks again for checking out the Film Geek. If you liked what you saw here today, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications, and give me the old thumbs up so I know you like what you're seeing. And if there's one more thing you can do, folks, that is keep watching movies. You know I'm gonna.